This was the Elder Scrolls Online 10 years ago.
And that was just a taste of Elder Scrolls Online.
The hype was off the charts.
Calling it one of the most anticipated games of E3 2012 is certainly an understatement.
But early reviews missed the point.
It's got the look, but none of the heart and soul.
This was never meant to be an online Skyrim.
But it's important to view it as a massively multiplayer role-playing game first, and an Elder Scrolls game second.
But a true MMORPG set in the Elder Scrolls universe. Skip to today and the Elder Scrolls Online has gone through so many changes, even inspiring a song from a legendary heavy metal band. But the core gameplay loop remains, discovering epic locations, earning amazing powers, and making friends for life. More and more fantasy fans are joining a game that has gone from mixed reviews to over 25 million players. Which begs the question, is it too late to play the Elder Scrolls Online?
Now, I'm not going to pretend that I've got an encyclopedic knowledge of the game, so I'm going to talk to the people who do. So I've come to the 10-year anniversary of Elder Scrolls Online. I'm going to talk to YouTubers who cover it daily. I'm going to talk to journalists who have been covering it for the last 10 years. And more importantly, I'm going to talk to the people who are making the game today to answer the important question, is it too late to play Elder Scrolls Online?
What is the Elder Scrolls Online?
You ask 5 of the people out there that are playing the game right now to describe ESO to you, you'll often hear the description of 5 different games. And it's because ESO is very much a virtual world type game where I know that there's influencers out there who just do housing. And then there's some that just do PvP, and there's some that just quest. The fact that ESO is so all-encompassing that it allows people to kind of live their virtual Elder Scrolls life the way they want, I think that is a major, major component into making the people that play the game feel like they're part of the game, and then the fandom comes from that.
What's it like for beginners?
So Elder Scrolls Online doesn't really have levels like lots of traditional games have, which means even though it's been around for 10 years, you can jump in and play anytime and not be at a disadvantage to people that have been playing the game for a long time. Instead of having vertical progression where you get more and more powerful, we concentrate more on horizontal progression and just give you more things to do. And so because of that, it's not so competitive and you never run out of things to do.
ESO is a world rich with lore from the world of Skyrim and Oblivion, with so much to explore, and it's going to be a great primer for when the Elder Scrolls 6 comes out. Players also have extensive control over their character's appearance, skills, and playstyle, with regular updates and new content, expansions, and features, ensuring a fresh and evolving experience. The ESO community is active and welcoming, providing a positive social aspect to the game. These factors combine to make ESO a unique and engaging experience for players who enjoy open world RPGs with a focus on customization and exploration.
So no game is perfect. What's annoying or frustrating about Elder Scrolls Online that you need to know about? Well, the combat for one is something that a lot of people found frustrating to get a handle on initially, and it's something that's unlike any other game, which is both good and bad.
I think Dragon Age is probably the best example. They have very similar stories, very similar gameplay styles, and I think it is sort of, if you like Dragon Age Inquisition, you're gonna like ESO, whereas I think if you like Elder Scrolls, if you like the lore, yes, if you like the gameplay, probably not. It's not Skyrim Online. You're in Tamriel, but that's about it.
Same thing with like Fallout, right? Like if you like that exploration style of game and stories and whatnot, absolutely gonna love it. And if you're just an MMO gamer in general, there's a lot of really fantastic MMOs out there. You're gonna love ESO as well. Like the combat is awesome, the stories are amazing, and the exploration is the most fun part about it.
The genre, obviously, that this fits inside of is MMO, but the style of it is reflecting the original single-player RPGs. The control layout is that of action RPGs. That it's got so many different genres of games all mixed into one. That's part and parcel of why it works so well. But we call that genre on stream, ooh, what's that over there? Because that is all you end up doing. You get into the game, you're like, right, I'm going to follow this quest. Yep, that's the dude I have to speak to. What's that? What? Why is there a cave with the squirrel running into? I want to see what the squirrel's doing. But if you pick up the idea that anywhere you go is up to you, and any choice you make, and it's not necessarily a bad thing, people can get into the game very, very quickly because they get lost down that rabbit hole of I can do whatever I like. As soon as you get into the game, understand this is different and not try to play it like every other game. You will enjoy the hell out of it, and your brain will just explode with how many possibilities there are.
it's so easy to find something you like. There's so many different genres on display. You've got like vampires and Skyrim, like political intrigue and the main story. There's a genre kind of for everyone, and I think because of the way it's built, where you don't need to go through things sequentially, you can just pick and choose. It's so vibe driven. You can just go, I really like gothic horror, I'll go here. I really like high fantasy, I'll go here. Like I think it's so easy to find something that suits you, and then that in itself is a hook. But I think once you actually get in, the quests are really easy and they kind of warm you up to the gameplay. Nothing feels overwhelmingly difficult. It builds gradually. The learning curve isn't steep at all. It's so easy to find a groove that gets you to that place naturally. But then when you do want to get a higher challenge, there's stuff in the open world like the world bosses or the dungeons that kind of push you a little bit further and make you refine your build.
So there's an amazing world for your character to explore set in the Elder Scrolls universe. But who are you? Is this all set before or after Skyrim? Does the events of Oblivion affect the story? And what does this mean for the upcoming Elder Scrolls 6? Let's take a look at what you need to know about the story.
The general plot of the game is this big demon god is invading and you have to stop it. It's very like straight to the point. There's sort of two stories going on in Elder Scrolls Online at the same time. You were essentially sacrificed by these cult followers and you get brought back to life without your soul by someone called the Prophet. The other story going on is that the Emperor has disappeared, which leaves this huge power vacuum, and 3 different alliances have formed. So you've got sort of the Almiri Dominion, the Daggerfall Covenant, and the Ebonheart Pact. And you choose which one of these you want to join, and all 3 of them are vying for that seat as the Emperor. So yeah, those both kind of play into each other, but they're also separate.
So that's the basics of Elder Scrolls Online to get you started. Obviously, being the Elder Scrolls, there is so much more to explore and uncover within this great story.
If you have played the other Elder Scrolls games, then you'll start to pick up on lots of things that happened in the other games. Even though ESO is about 1,000 years before the other ones, there's lots of crossover.
So as a beginner, where do you start? What's the best way to level up? Where should you be spending your time most efficiently? What's the best weapons? What's the best armor? I've heard that this scroll tells you the ultimate build, but I can't read it. So instead we decided to ask the experts, the YouTubers who play it every single day, and the people that are making the game now who know the inner workings.
Someone who has never played ESO before is just play it like you would an Elder Scrolls game. There are almost no decisions you can make in the early part of the game that you can't redo at some point in the game. So don't sweat it, just go in and have fun, meet great characters, meet other players. Don't think you have to min-max everything to have fun, because it's not that kind of game.
There really is no wrong answer as to which to choose, as there is no cost to making another character, and ESO offers a wide range of customization options, allowing players to tailor their characters to their preferred playstyle. So while the race or class you choose doesn't matter that much, the alliance you pick does matter. It limits what race you can be. If you see when you pick a specific race, it auto-picks the alliance for you. You can only play PvP with the same alliance group. If you want to play PvP with friends, make sure you check which alliance they are with. Elder Scrolls Online has 7 classes to pick from, so here's a brief overview of each to get you started. Dragonknight. This is a melee brawler tank that focuses on heavy armor, high health, and powerful attacks. They excel at soaking up damage and dealing substantial physical damage. Templar. The Templar is a healer, support, damage dealer like a paladin or a cleric. It's a versatile class capable of healing, providing buffs, and dealing damage. They often use their magic or divine power to support their allies and control the battlefield. Nightblade. The Nightblade is a stealthy assassin that is a high damage dealer, and it specializes in stealth, poison, and swift attacks. Nightblades excel at dealing burst damage and incapacitating enemies. Sorcerer. This is a wizard mage caster damage dealer who focuses on dealing damage from a distance. Sorcerers can control the battlefield with their spells and devastating attacks. Necromancer. It's a wizard with a little bit of death sprinkled in that harnesses the power of the undead to deal damage and control the battlefield. Necromancers can summon minions, drain life, and use dark magic for devastating effects. Warden. This is a druid ranger mix that operates as a healer support tank that's very versatile and capable of healing, providing buffs, and even tanking. Wardens can also summon animal companions, control nature, and use their connection to the wilds for various abilities. Arcanist. It's another magic class that has more of a focus on elemental magic and can control the battlefield with powerful spells. They can manipulate fire, ice, lightning, and other natural forces. While these are general comparisons, the specific skills and playstyles within each class can vary greatly.
There's currently, I think you'll find 637 sets in the game, excluding the upcoming patch. But there's a possibility of 68 unvigintillion possibilities. Down to the ones that will be useful before you even buy a skill, there's just short of 200 billion choices. it will take you nearly 9,000 years to try every single option once a second. So when someone goes, what's best? That's an impossible question.
Naturally, with all of these permutations, there have been some rather insane builds that you can cook up.
So I'm very much a power gamer. Every game that I play, I try to min-max and do things and whatnot. So my favorite character is a stamina-based Templar. And I'm more focused on kind of melee. So dual wield, I have a bow. And so my bow, I just basically drop dots on the ground, damage over time abilities on the ground, and then I go in there and just start whacking away.
They added the Necromancer finally, and it was this really long-awaited class because Necromancy's always been this big thing in the Elder Scrolls. You would go anywhere, in any town, in any dungeon, whatever, you would see 20 million laser beams being fired at once. Because everyone is using the same class because it was the new hot thing, but it was also so broken. Like, you'd go into a group dungeon, 4 of you firing a laser at a boss, it just died in seconds. It felt weirdly sci-fi seeing green laser beams everywhere.
Basically, if you're just starting out, don't stress about your class. Play whatever you think looks fun. You can always make a new character and it will straight away be the same level as your current highest character on your account. For builds, the truth is the meta is always changing, so I asked the devs of the game which YouTubers and content creators they think offer some of the best advice to players.
You know, Zynote is really good, Skinny Cheeks is really good. Madigon is another up-and-comer kind of build creator. He creates a lot of, he calls them dad builds, but they're kind of for the average player where you don't have to really have APM or high actions per minute to play the game. You know, some of the other top-end builds are very high APM. And then Tia the Khajiit is another really exciting one, right, where she just kind of always does her own thing and she's super creative and kind of very cozy. So yeah, those are some of my favorites.
My go-to is Alcast HQ. They break it down so well. So you can look at what spells you need, what the alternatives are if you're not high enough a level in that skill category or that guild. They show you what loot you can use. But then if you can't get that loot because maybe it's a really high level trial or something, you can see alternatives again. It's intuitive and it's designed for every kind of player. Yeah, I use them religiously at this point. I think I'd be lost otherwise.
What is the best weapon? Now, while most classes can wield most weapons in ESO, there are obviously ones that are better suited to certain classes. Tanks work well with one-handed weapons and a shield, dual-wielding daggers are great for high damage for second classes like the Nightblade, and staffs are for magic users. Also, the meta is constantly changing, so again, I'd point you towards the YouTubers we mentioned earlier for the latest, greatest weapons. It's a complicated question with no one right answer, so we asked the makers of the game to offer some advice.
You can pick up any weapon in the game at first, second, third level and have fun. The fact that we don't have levels the way other games do, you can really just find things, especially at low levels, and just if you want to experiment with a staff and rain fire on people from a long distance, that's fine, or you can get 2 daggers and stab people from up close, it's fine. It's whatever the player wants.
How do I level up fast? Elder Scrolls Online offers a vast and immersive world filled with countless adventures and challenges. While there are many ways to gain experience, some methods are more efficient than others, but there actually may be a benefit to not leveling up too quickly.
I wouldn't encourage power leveling, because in this game, power leveling doesn't make you better at the game. Some games, the higher your level, the more power you have. This one, you're all on the same plane, so it's skill-based. And if you fast track, you miss the learning experience and you don't pick up the basics. Because the basics will actually kill you faster than the tricky ones. Even some of the hardest content in the game requires you to do stuff like blocking, dodge rolling, and interrupts. And I honestly, interrupting a target, just a bash button, is the one thing that will kill everybody, regardless of how difficult it is, above everything else. The most basic mechanics are the ones that people forget.
You can get drinks, XP scrolls that will boost how much XP you earn, but you can also do in-game events. They do them quite frequently. If you run public dungeons over and over again with your group, you'll get loads of XP, and those are really fun, really engaging. The bosses are always great. If you like the game enough, you can get SO+. That also gives you an XP boost. So you can craft training gear, but training gear gives you an XP boost on whatever you're doing. So that's really handy to have. And that goes all the way to the end game. And if you get married, you can have a marriage ceremony. If you're playing with your best friend or something, get married to them. That's what I did. Stick the ring on. You'll get an XP boost. I was really close with my friend in secondary school, and going to them in the canteen, it was like, do you want to get married in ESO? It just sounds really weird. You stack all of this together and you can level up quite fast. But what I will say is I think level 1 to 50, that first stretch, I wouldn't worry so much about boosting your level. A lot of people try and speedrun that first 50 levels. I think that's the time when you need to just soak the game in, go at your own pace, find what you like, sort of experiment a bit more rather than min-maxing, especially if you're a newcomer. I think it's when you get to the champion levels and you really want to push your build to the furthest you can, that's when you want to start focusing on grinding. But this first 50 levels, enjoy the story, play the game, don't worry about it.
So with all these tips, you'll be level 50 in no time, squishing enemies with a flick of your wrist. But you've got so powerful, now you need to find more challenges and greater enemies. So where do you go? And what should you do in this vast, vast world?
One of the great things about this game is you can basically play any content, even the end game stuff or something that's just been released. You can play with your level 50 friend if you're just a level of 5. The only problem is that makes it really confusing because you can basically play anything. The whole world just opens up to you. You don't have a massive direction on where to go. So we asked the studio head what he would suggest people start with first.
If you want, like, here's the zone where we learned all the lessons and distilled everything, that would be Orsinium. Looks amazing, has a great story, very Elder Scrolls, and it's self-contained in the zone, so you don't need to be routed around the world when you play it.
As well as the main quest, there is so much more you can do in ESO, like taking down world bosses, exploring dungeons, crafting your own unique spells, purchasing a home in one of Tamriel's many cities and decorating it to your liking, so you can then host parties and invite other players round. Engage in massive scale PvP battles between the 3 alliances, capturing keeps and controlling the province, fishing, collecting and training adorable pets to accompany you on your adventures, treasure hunting and trading with other players. And finally, joining up to 5 guilds. But what exactly are guilds in ESO? And which 5 should you join?
Our guild system is very forgiving. You can be in up to 5 guilds, which means there are guilds that are basically exist to help new players, and you can just go and chat with them because there's no competition in the game, really. You actually get help by helping other players. You don't have to be a certain level to be in a guild. There's no power rankings in that sense, right? So it's just welcoming to anyone because anyone can play with anyone else.
It is very common to see somebody in general chat go, hey, I'm new, I'm not sure what to do. And like 30 people reach out and they're like, hey, do you need some gear? Do you need some gold? Like, come join my guild. We'll get you introduced to the rest of the group, right? Like, it's really, really welcoming. And it's just awesome to be a part of.
You see people in local chat occasionally, I'm killing a world boss, can someone help me? You might not hear anything in local chat, or you might. But 9 times out of 10, that dude is standing there and about 3 or 4 people will just turn up and smack the hell out of it.
And it was always kind of like, oh, I'll go here and I'll hang out with my guild. And there was like a northern guild with Newcastle is in it. And that was really cool. It was like, people get me. Like that kind of mentality of, oh, I'm kind of in a bad place and I need somewhere that just kind of warms me up. It's stuck with me all these years later. I love going back to ESO because it's just so comforting. It's really helpful. And like the guilds are the same. They're really accommodating and they don't push you away for being bad. They want to bring you up to their level, which is such a different view that I think most online games don't take. Something I've found really helpful is go for small guilds. You'll see a lot of these big guilds with lots and lots and lots of people. You will get lost in the noise. If you find a small guild and kind of interact with them more through Discord and stuff and become part of that, you'll kind of get mentored, especially when you're starting out. That's what happened to me. Some of them might even give you money or gear and things that help you level up. Don't join the same type of guild multiple times, like join a trading guild because that's how you can build money while you're doing quests and stuff. Join a PvE guild so you can be invited to dungeon delves and trials. Join a social guild so that you have some people you can make friends with while you're playing. There's so many different types that you can get involved in and they all serve a different purpose, so don't use the 5 slots on the same thing. Try and diversify what you're doing, I think.
There are several ways to join a guild in ESO. The in-game guild finder allows you to search for guilds based on various criteria, such as location, size, and focus. And ESO forums and community websites are another good place to look for a more specific guild. There really is no wrong choices, as the guilds that you join, you can leave and join others at will depending on what you need at that time. There are even guilds for returning players to get them back into the swing of things. So why should you come back if you've left ESO in the last couple of years?
Because you can pick right back up where you left off with no penalty, and it doesn't matter what everyone else has done in the time that you were gone. Your character's still there, and there's no catch-up. You can just go do whatever you want right from that moment.
But you won't be at a weaker stance or position now for not playing for a bit. There's people that leave for a year and they come back in like, what should I do? It's like, well, no level cap has changed for anything, and it's not going to, so you basically just log on and see if your character still plays the same. If it doesn't, mild adaptations or adjustments, and you're just straight back in.
Like, if you want to get into PvP or PvE, you will need to brush up on everything again. The meta is so different. A lot of things have been nerfed, a lot of things have been buffed, a lot of gear is different. I think something that I struggled with when I was playing ESO was I just got so bored of the MMO loop, watching numbers on a screen after so long, and it gets so repetitive. But throwing in like a skill-based trading card game where you have to find and collect the cards, I think that's such an interesting loop that maybe when you get bored of doing all the PvP and PvE, there's something else to sink your teeth into now. Like I said, there's treasure hunting. There's also spell crafting with the newest expansion, which you can make your spells colorful, you can change a damage build into a healing build. I think there's a lot more freedom to experiment with what you're doing now than there was 5 years ago. There's a lot more room to reshape a build instead of starting over with a different class. So I think the big thing that has changed in the last 5 years is just freedom. So yeah, I think that's what keeps me coming back year after year.
If you're a returning player, you're probably going to be interested in the meta and how it has changed since you've been away. I'd suggest checking out some of the following YouTubers for the best builds, current meta, latest weapons, and the general state of the game right now. What is the end game?
One of the things that I love to do the most are arenas. They're really challenging kind of solo things. We have a duo arena and infinite archive. So those are my favorites. A lot of our players will actually say end game, like high fashion per second is the most important part, right? So they go about collecting a lot of stuff. So, you know, in the community, when you hear, oh, my FPS is really high, it's not really frame rate, it's my fashion's very high.
So other than looking fantastic, what endgame content is available to you once you get to level 50? One of the most popular endgame activities in ESO is exploring dungeons and trials for a next level challenge and unique rewards. Dungeons are typically designed for smaller groups, while trials are larger scale encounters that often require a full raid group of 12 players. There are also overworld bosses you might bump into when exploring. These powerful enemies can be fought throughout Tamriel and offer challenging encounters and valuable loot. ESO offers a robust PvP system. Cyrodiil is a massive open world PvP zone where 3 powerful alliances battle for control in the province. Battlegrounds are smaller scale arenas with structured PvP modes, such as Capture the Flag and Deathmatch. The Imperial City is a unique PvP zone that features a mix of PvE and PvP elements. At level 50, you can also craft powerful items and rare resources. High-level crafting and gathering can be a lucrative endeavor, allowing you to sell your creations to other players for a profit.
Your best way of making money at all is just the marketplace. Like, you find what people are trying to buy online through community-run resources. Like, there's add-ons that do it for you, like Master Merchant's a really good one, and I think they also have an accompanying website. But you just want to grind the gear, not the money, and you want to then join a guild where they have what's called a guild store. You'll make a lot of money that way. If you try and grind money by killing mobs over and over and over, you're not going to have a good time. People lap furniture up. They'll spend stupid money on it, but there's super rare ones during events that get you a lot more money, and because it's in the event, people will be buying it up as quickly as possible. I've made hundreds of thousands on that. You want to grind gear, not money, I think is the number one thing I had to learn, and it took me an embarrassingly long time to realize that.
ESO's housing system is also hugely popular, offering a unique way to express your creativity and personalize your gaming experience. You can purchase homes in various locations throughout Tamriel, decorate them to your liking, and even invite friends over for parties.
Most of the houses you'll see are paid with real money, and they can be quite expensive, but they are so customizable, and you can put trophies in them from your dungeons and things, so they're really like fun to dig into. But I don't think you should worry about getting into that side of the game until you know the game's for you, because of how costly it is. But you can get a little bit of a head start. There's a quest you can pick up in the main cities of each alliance that gives you little rooms and inns and things that you can sort of play around with the mechanics and see if it's your thing first. If you like the way it plays, at least you know that before you spend hundreds of pounds on it.
For the base game, it's only going to cost $5 to $10, which includes the Morrowind Chapter expansion and the Imperial City Zone DLC, and basically 10 years of content, which is not bad at all. You also get unlimited character creation and the ability to join guilds, all of which should be enough to get you started to see if you like the game. Now, if you do fall head over heels for the world of Tamriel, you can pay for ESO Plus. That gets you access to all of the DLCs and lots of other great stuff like faster mounts, more houses, double XP, and some in-game currency. ESO also regularly releases new DLCs with new zones, quests, challenges, and unique mechanics with rewards to get your hands on. So, is it too late to play Elder Scrolls Online?
If you're a big fan of Elder Scrolls or just fantasy games in general, there is this absolutely huge world of Tamriel for you to explore. There's over 10 years worth of content just waiting for you there. It's also massively customizable, so whatever you want the game to be, that's what it could be for you. You could just build houses if that's what you prefer, or you could go into the minutiae of a build with a specific weapon set and race, and you understand what I'm saying. It's a fully customizable game. You can have so much fun in that. So, is it too late to play Elder Scrolls Online? Definitely not. And what else have you got to do while you wait for Elder Scrolls 6 to come out anyway?